And as tensions escalate in the West Asia war, Iran is hardening its position over the Strait of Hormuz, as the waterway becomes the central battleground in its confrontation with the United States. Iran's new Supreme National Security Council, Mohsen Rezaei, says that Hormuz will not be reopened until Washington fulfills its commitments. Rezaei also issued a direct warning to Iran's neighbors against participating in the U.S. economic campaign, stating that Iran would initially negotiate with the countries not to participate, but if they continued, not a single drop of oil would pass through the Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf. Tehran says it has reached an understanding with Oman on a possible alternative shipping route, but the Strait of Hormuz will remain a key lever. Before the war started on February 28th this year, Hormuz carried 1/5 of the global oil and LNG supplies. The U.S. President Donald Trump, meanwhile, called the Strait of Hormuz as an American territory, as the U.S. continues the military blockade of Iran's shipping and ports. Now, remember last week, Trump used his social media platform, Truth Social, and he labeled Hormuz as an American territory. Iran was quick to react on the post, and it rejected the claims and insisted that the waterway will remain closed until its conditions are met. The Trump administration, meanwhile, continues to struggle to end the war with Iran. Rezaei, in a recent interview, claimed that the naval blockade by the United States was nothing new, and Iran was able to sell 70 million barrels of oil.
The naval blockade is nothing new. We have been under a naval blockade for several months now, yet we have continued to sell our oil. In just the past 1 or 2 months, we have sold 70 million barrels of oil. The first week after the agreement was a good week because we shipped out the 70 million barrels of oil we had on hand. Every day, we are selling oil equal to our daily production despite the presence of U.S. naval vessels. That is what Mr. Trump's naval blockade has amounted to.
West Asia is also looking beyond Hormuz as France and Saudi Arabia are discussing pipeline expansion. New export routes and logistics corridors. Options include Saudi Arabia's East-West pipeline, the UAE's Habshan Fujairah pipeline, the Sumer pipeline, and ports in Oman facing the Arabian Sea. Now, these developments are likely to upset Iran, with both US and Iran being adamant on their demands, and with no sign of the war coming to an end. The next phase of the conflict could be fought not just with missiles and drones, but through Hormuz, energy flows, and regional trade. And to discuss this in greater detail, joining us live from Tehran is Dr. Saeed Imamian. He's an assistant professor at the Tehran Polytechnic and founder and former director of the governance and policy think tank. Dr. Imamian, Iran is now threatening an earthquake-like retaliation if President Trump takes further action. And this while Washington is preparing what it calls its toughest sanctions yet. How seriously should we take this threat at this point, and what would Iran actually be capable of doing in response, according to you?
It seems that President Trump is now in a very deadlocked position. He is desperate because there is no military solution, whilst he threatened several times that he has won the war and he is going to wipe out the Iranian civilization. At the same time, with regards to the economic sanction, everyone remember long history of the economic sanction imposed on Iran, particularly President Trump's maximum pressure policy in 2018. But it seems that Iranian economy is as resilient as its military establishment was proved to be. But of course, Iranian economy has been suffered a lot by the damages of the unilateral imposed coercive measures. It is not the point to deny the impact of the sanctions on the Iranian economy. But my understanding is that the Iranians are looking for a new equation, that the sanction is no longer without any cost. And the sanctions needs to be retaliated by any different mechanism that never been used before. So Iranian new equation policy means that they are shifting from tolerating and absorbing the impact of the sanctions towards retaliating against any form of the economic sanction or limitation or containment of the Iranian trade, particularly with regards to the oil trades. So we need to wait and see what does that mean in practice. But the shifting in the policy is very clear and it's very meaningful and very understandable.
We hear you, Dr. Imamian, but Tehran has also gone a step further and warned neighboring countries that cooperate with the U.S. economic campaign that their own interests could also be targeted. Is Iran deliberately trying to make the cost of joining the American pressure campaign too high for Gulf states? And how far could that pressure go?
Yeah, it seems that, again, this is another side of the coin, that in post-war era, there is no return to the pre-war equation, that anyone could be allied to Iranian enemy to facilitate aggression against Iran, either military aggression or economic aggression against Iran, and anyone is not going to pay any cost for that. So as it was shocking for everyone, the Iranian strategy since February 28th, that Iran punished every countries that they have provided their territory as bases for war on aggression against Iran. Iran is going to make similar retaliatory defensive policy against any country that is going to facilitate or contribute to the economic sanctions against Iran. It is a very fundamental shift of the policy, as I said, from absorbing or tolerating the aggression on Iran, either military or economic aggression, towards retaliatory and defensive policy, and putting costs on everyone that is going to contribute with the U.S. and ally with the U.S. with regards to those kind of the sanctions or military aggressions. But at the same time, I think that President Trump is very desperately looking for some escape way from the deadlock that he has been stuck with. So I would find some possibilities for him, because some mediatory countries, they have already started to send some messages that this is the time for President Trump to accept some kind of the compromises that he never accepted before. And so there would be some chance for him to come back to the MOU that he had signed off and to be committed to the promises that he has made. This is the only way out of such kind of the deadlock that he has been stuck with.
But having said that, Dr. Imamian, Hormuz remains Iran's most powerful card out of, especially at this juncture. And traffic through the strait, it has already slowed sharply, and Tehran says that it will not reopen the waterway without major concessions from Washington. But how long can Iran sustain a chokehold on one of the world's most important oil routes without triggering a much larger military response?
It seems that both parties have been affected a lot by the blockage of the Strait of Hormuz. This is the huge cost on Iranian economy, of course. But at the same time, it has been very costly for U.S. allies in the Persian Gulf. And also, indirectly, the cost would be much more visible in the economy, U.S. economy, very much soon. So there is a kind of the battle of the tolerance. Who is going to tolerate more the cost of the war? But at the end of the day, there would be, I think, a kind of the battle of the resilience. Any country that could be much more economically, socially, and politically resilient more would be the winner of the war. And so this is the new kind of the equation, regional battle of the resilience that we are witnessing now. From the Iranian side, as far as I know, as I said, the cost of the naval blockade is huge for the Iranian economy. But at the same time, you know that Iran has been living with kind of the sanctions for several decades. So the economy is resilient enough, and the society has been very much adapted to those kind of the sanctions that comes and goes, different kind of the policies with regards to the different U.S. presidents since the Obama, Trump first term, and the Biden, and now the new D-Day of the President Trumps. But all of them have been absorbed, tolerated by the resilience of the Iranian economy. Of course, they has been very costly for the society and for the civilians, Iranian normal citizens, of course. There is no point of denial. But at the end of the day, this is the battle of the resilience, and this is the matter of the national security and sovereignty and dignity.
We hear you, Dr. Imayan, but of course it is a delicate situation. We'll have to wait and see where this goes from here on. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your perspective with us and our viewers.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.